So today I'm going to tell you about a book called Living the Good Life by Linda Cockburn. This is a book I've had for a few years actually, about 3 or 4 years probably, and I've actually bought a few copies of this and given it to other people because I thought it was an absolutely brilliant book. It's following an Australian couple and their child Caleb, who's on the cover of this version, through a year in their homestead or self-sufficiency, but they've done it in quite an interesting way. They've got a fairly standard Australian plot with about half an acre or an acre of land, I think. Linda stayed at home, housewife, and grows a lot of the vegetables. They've got a goat and some chickens, and this book goes for a year where they install solar panels, start growing the garden to eat off of, so full self-sufficiency. Her husband does carry on working to pay the healthcare bills and tax and things like that, but they do prove they can do everything, have a minimal year. So it's not just about the food, it's about how they minimise buying toys and for the child and all that sort of, going out and things like that, and clothes, and it's a real minimalistic year to show they can do it. But some really interesting insights into the things people would struggle to do without, especially in a society like Australia, UK, America. The things we take for granted. They have to pay for healthcare, so obviously in America and Australia you have to pay your health insurance, and they do use it through the year. So in terms of that, it's quite a refreshing book to read. It's not sort of glossing over those aspects, it does go into those, which is really nice. It shows the types of food they are able to eat and the way they can recycle, and as I say, it goes through the calendar year, starting off with them starting the project, getting to know how it works for them, what sorts of food they can grow, and eating things that they've got gluts of, things like that, through to obviously through the summer and to the end of the year where they sort of review what they've done. And I think they actually carried on. I don't think there is a second book, unfortunately. I think they're planning on one, but I don't think I've ever found it. If there is, I'd like to know, because I'd like to read it. But I really enjoyed this book. There's a lot of detailed information. They've obviously done their research really well on the amount of resources they use, and what they can make from the food grown locally. So there's a lot in here about the amount of power they use, the amount they generate, and how they use that, and actually going back to old-fashioned ways of having a baking day, so they're not using the oven. They're filling up the oven when they are using it, so they're making the most of the electric they have made from their solar, and all sorts of things like that. Really interesting points like that. There are some recipes in here, I think. So generally, really interesting insight into an Australian self-sufficiency route. Lots that could be applied to UK, America. Lots of the same basic vegetables being grown, and same principles. Really interesting to see someone modern, current, doing it really well, and being really honest about the pros and cons of the lifestyle.